Captain Jack Huxley was having a terrible day, which was nothing new. Ever since his dishonorable discharge from the Space Marines over what he maintained was a simple misunderstanding involving the Admiral's daughter. 3 bottles of Martian whiskey and a stolen shuttle his life had been a series of unfortunate cargo runs and bar fights. Today was special, though. Today he'd managed to screw up on a galactic scale. You did what? Admiral Kowalski's holographic face had turned a concerning shade of purple. The connection from Earth to Jack's rust bucket cargo ship, the lucky bastard, was fuzzy, but the Admiral's rage came through in perfect clarity. Look, how was I supposed to know they were diplomats? Jack ran a hand through his disheveled brown hair. They boarded my ship without permission. They were 9 feet tall with claws. What would you have done? Not challenged their ambassador to a drinking contest and then cheated. Jack winced. The cheating part is debatable. You taped a funnel to your throat that led to a collection tank in your jacket. Innovation, sir. Humans are known for it. The Admiral closed his eyes, clearly counting to 10. Maybe 20. Captain Huxley, do you understand what the Veloxians are? Some kind of space cats with an attitude problem. They're the apex predators of the known galaxy. They've conquered 17 star systems. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. And you, the Admiral took a deep breath. You made their ambassador vomit on his ceremonial hunt cloak in front of their entire delegation. Jack suppressed a smirk. In my defense, that was after he called humans soft prey animals who lucked into spaceflight. They've issued a formal challenge, Huxley. That wiped the almost smirk off Jack's face. A what now? A hunt challenge. It's their way of settling disputes. 1 human versus 1 Veloxian in ritual combat. Jack's stomach dropped. Please tell me I'm not. Relax, Huxley. Even we aren't stupid enough to send you. We're sending Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez. Tessa Rodriguez? Quick draw. For the first time since the conversation began, Jack smiled genuinely. Well, those space cats are in for a surprise. Just pray you're right, the Admiral muttered. Because if we lose, Earth becomes Veloxian hunting grounds for the next century. As the transmission ended, Jack looked out his viewport at the massive Veloxian warship that had been escorting him to their homeworld. Its sleek, predatory design reminded him of ancient Earth sharks. Well, he muttered to himself, at least it'll be entertaining. The Galactic Council chamber on Terminus 9 was packed with representatives from 27 sentient species, all gathered to witness what might be the most interesting diplomatic incident in decades. Grand Ambassador V. Rax of the Veloxian Empire stood at the center of the circular chamber, his 9-foot feline fawn draped in a new ceremonial cloak. This one adorned with the claws of creatures he'd personally hunted across the galaxy. His yellow eyes scanned the crowd with contempt. The terms are simple, he growled, voice rumbling like distant thunder. 1 hunter from each species. The human prey will be given a 6-hour head start in the designated hunting grounds. If they survive for 3 planetary rotations or incapacitate the Veloxian hunter, they win. If not, he smiled, revealing rows of serrated teeth. Well, I'm sure you can imagine. The Earth ambassador, a portly man sweating through his expensive suit, kept glancing nervously at the entrance doors. Their champion was late. From the viewing gallery, Jack Huxley nursed a drink and watched the proceedings with interest. Next to him sat a gelatinous purple alien who introduced himself as Blorp, travel documentarian and disaster enthusiast. You are the human who caused this situation? Blorp bubbled curiously. That's me. Jack Huxley, interstellar screw-up at your service, most fascinating. Have you selected a particularly impressive specimen as your champion? A genetic warrior, perhaps? Or a cybernetically enhanced soldier? Jack chuckled. Something like that. The chamber doors burst open, and every head turned. Lieutenant Commander Tessa Quickdraw Rodriguez strolled in like she was entering a neighborhood bar rather than a life-or-death diplomatic negotiation. She stood 5'5" in standard-issue military boots, with dark hair pulled back in a messy ponytail and a worn leather jacket thrown over her uniform. A small scar bisected her right eyebrow, and she was chewing gum. A murmur of disbelief rippled through the alien audience. Sorry I'm late, she announced to the room at large. Transit was a nightmare. You guys ever try commercial space liners? Total ripoff. The Earth ambassador looked like he might faint. Vrax stared down at the human female with a mixture of confusion and indignation. This is Earth's champion. This small prey creature? Tessa blew a bubble with her gun, popped it loudly, and grinned. Lieutenant Commander Tessa Rodriguez. My friends call me Quick Draw. You can call me Sir. The Veloxian delegation erupted in their version of laughter, a hissing, yowling sound that made several smaller alien species cover their auditory organs. Vrax composed himself. Very well. The humor of prey before the hunt is always amusing. Allow me to introduce our champion. From behind the Veloxian delegation emerged a warrior that made even Vrax look small. Standing nearly 11 feet tall, with jet black fur and cybernetic enhancements visible along his arms and face, the Veloxian hunter looked like death personified. This is Zax, greatest hunter of our generation. He has claimed trophies from 11,342 hunts. He has never failed. Zax looked down at Tessa, nostrils flaring as he scented her. You smell of artificial sugar and weapon oil. A curious combination. You smell like you could use a bath, Tessa replied cheerfully. But hey, who am I to judge? More shocked murmurs from the audience. The Earth ambassador had given up on diplomacy and was openly drinking from a flask. Tessa stepped forward, examining the terms displayed on the floating holographic contract. So, 3 days in the wilderness. I've got a 6-hour head start, and all I need to do is survive or kick your furry butt. Sounds straightforward enough. She signed the contract with a casual flick of her finger. One question, though, she added, glancing up at Zax. What exactly do you hunt with? Claws? Guns? Ancient ritualistic pool noodles? Zax revealed his own set of gleaming, retractable claws. We hunt with the tools nature and technology have provided us. You may bring whatever weapons you can carry. Cool, cool. Tessa nodded. And the terrain? Vrax gestured to a holographic map that appeared in the center of the chamber. The hunting grounds consist of 5 distinct biomes: forest, mountain, swamp, plains, and desert. All native fauna has been temporarily removed to prevent interference. Thoughtful. Tessa yawned and stretched. Well, when do we start? I've got a poker game next Tuesday I don't want to miss. Zax's eyes narrowed. Either he was angry or impressed with alien facial expressions. It was hard to tell. The hunt begins at dawn, he rumbled. I suggest you use your final night wisely, human. Tessa shrugged. Planning to. I hear there's a great noodle place in the spaceport. Anyone want to join? No. Your loss, as she sauntered out. Jack caught her eye and nodded slightly. She winked back, almost imperceptibly. Your champion seems unconcerned. Blorp observed, tendrils quivering in confusion. Jack took another sip of his drink. Yeah, she's always been like that. Say, is she mentally impaired? The alien asked with genuine curiosity. Jack laughed. No, my gelatinous friend. She's just got a plan. Tessa always has a plan. Dawn on Terminus 9 was spectacular triple suns rising in staggered formation, bathing the landscape in overlapping hues of gold, crimson, and amber. The designated hunting grounds stretched for hundreds of miles across rugged, untamed wilderness. In the observation center, representatives from dozens of worlds gathered around massive screens displaying various angles of the hunting grounds. Betting pools had formed overnight, with odds heavily favoring the Veloxian champion. 300 credits on the human dying within the first 12 hours. A spider-like arachnid merchant chittered. I'll take that action, Jack replied, slapping down his credit chip. And I'll double it that she makes it all 3 days. The gathered aliens looked at him with what might have been pity. On the main screen, Tessa stood at the entry point to the hunting grounds. Instead of combat gear or high-tech survival equipment, she wore standard-issue military pants, her leather jacket, and carried only a small backpack. Her hair was still in its messy ponytail. Final equipment check, the Terminus 9 game warden announced, scanning Tessa with a handheld device. 1 standard utility knife, water purification tablets, emergency medical kit, 3 protein bars, and is that chewing gum? I like minty fresh breath when I'm being hunted, Tessa replied with a grin. It's a human thing. The warden looked confused but continued. No energy weapons, no projectile weapons, no explosive devices. You wouldn't dream of it. From the observation center, Blorp's gelatinous form wobbled in confusion. Your champion brings no weapons to face the greatest hunter in the quadrant? Is this some form of ritual suicide? Jack just smiled enigmatically. Watch and learn. The starting horn sounded, and Tessa set off at a casual jog, heading straight for the forest biome. Her relaxed demeanor had the alien observers completely baffled. She does understand this is a life or death situation, yes? A reptilian diplomat asked nobody in particular. 6 hours later, the horn sounded again, right at the opposite entrance to the hunting grounds. Krizax emerged to thunderous applause from the Veloxian contingent. He was a vision of evolutionary perfection, combined with cutting-edge technology, retractable diamond-tipped claws, enhanced vision that could track heat signatures for miles, and muscle density triple that of the average human. He carried no additional weapons. He didn't need them. Krizax lifted his head, sampling the air with specialized scent organs. His eyes narrowed as he caught Tessa's trail immediately. Too easy, he growled to the cameras. The prey isn't even trying to mask its scent. He set off at a loping pace that ate up ground with frightening efficiency. In the observation center, the screen split to show both competitors. While Krizax bounded through the terrain with predatory grace, Tessa appeared to be taking a nap against a tree. Is she sleeping? The Earth ambassador looked ready to have a coronary. Conserving energy, Jack corrected. Smart move. When the monitoring drones showed Krizax getting within 2 miles of her position, Tessa suddenly sprang up, stretched, and continued her journey deeper into the forest at the same unhurried pace. She knows he's coming. An avian observer trilled. Why doesn't she run? Jack leaned back in his seat. Because that's what he expects. Throughout the day, the pattern continued. Krizax would gain ground with his superior speed, getting within visual range. Tessa would casually change direction or terrain type, never showing fear, never breaking into a panicked run. By nightfall, the Veloxian hunter was visibly frustrated. He'd expected to make the kill before sunset, but the human's unpredictable movement patterns kept throwing off his hunting strategies. The cameras caught him standing atop a rocky outcrop, watching Tessa calmly setting up a small camp in a clearing below. She's making a fire. The Earth ambassador was pulling his hair out. Is she trying to die? Is your species typically this suicidal? Was suicidal? Asked a silicon-based life form to Jack's left. Only the interesting ones, Jack replied. On screen, Krizax snarled to himself. What game are you playing, human? Do you not understand you are prey? As if hearing him, Tessa looked directly up at his position, though according to all readings, she shouldn't have been able to detect him, and smiled before returning to her fire. In the observation center, the betting odds began to shift, ever so slightly. By the dawn of the third day, something unprecedented had happened. Krizax was showing signs of fatigue. The night vision cameras had captured his increasingly desperate attempts to corner Tessa, only to find her slipping away just before he pounced, not running in panic, but moving with deliberate precision, as if she knew exactly where he would strike from. Every time he thought he had her trapped, she would simply not be there when he arrived. When he doubled back, she would be somewhere he'd already searched. The few times he got close enough to engage, she would duck through spaces too small for his massive frame, forcing him to go around while she gained distance. Most perplexing to the gathered observers was that she never seemed to rest for more than 20 minutes at a time, yet displayed no signs of exhaustion. How is she doing this? Vrax demanded, his claws digging into the armrests of his observer's chair. She has no enhanced abilities, no superior technology. Jack, who had been collecting quite a pile of winnings, simply shrugged. Maybe you should have researched humans a bit more before picking this fight. On the screens, Krizax was now visibly limping, one of his cybernetic enhancements sparking from where Tessa had led him through a water-filled ravine the previous evening. The mighty hunter appears to have pulled a muscle. Tessa's voice came through clearly as she stood atop a boulder, watching Krizax stalk toward her across an open meadow. Should we call a timeout? Maybe get you a space heating pad and some anti-inflammatory meds. Krizax snarled, his patience finally snapping. Enough games. Why don't you run like proper prey? Why do you mock the hunt? Tessa casually leaned against a tree. Why would I run when I've been hunting you for the past 3 days? The observation center went dead silent. What did she say? Virax whispered. Impossible. Krizax roared. I am the hunter. You are nothing but prey. Tessa shook her head, looking almost disappointed. See, that's where you made your first mistake. You assumed that because you're bigger, stronger, and have all those fancy claws and tech implants, you're the predator here. She pushed off from the tree and took a step toward him. But you never bothered to learn what humans actually are. Krizax lunged forward, his massive form covering the distance between them with frightening speed. But instead of retreating, Tessa stepped directly toward him, ducking under his slashing claws with a fluid motion that spoke of years of combat training. She slapped something against his cybernetic leg enhancement as she rolled past him. A small light began blinking red. What is this? He snarled, trying to reach the device. That? Tessa grinned. Just a little something I whipped up from parts I collected while you were chasing me in circles. Which, by the way, is exactly where I wanted you. The device emitted a high-pitched whine, and suddenly all of Krizax's cybernetic enhancements went dark. He staggered, off balance without the systems that had been integrated into his hunting style for decades. MP charge, Tessa explained conversationally, as if discussing the weather, targeted to the specific frequency of your tech. Took me most of the first day to calibrate it based on your energy signatures. Krizax tried to lunge again, but without his enhancements, his movements were uncoordinated, his balance compromised. Tessa sidestepped easily. Second mistake, she continued, was assuming I was running from you. I wasn't. I was leading you exactly where I wanted, making you burn energy, studying your patterns. She pointed to various locations around the meadow where small, almost invisible markers had been placed. I've mapped this entire area, every rock, every tree, every patch of uneven ground. While you were focused on tracking me, I was setting up this moment. In the observation center, the aliens watched in stunned silence as the human began to circle the now struggling Veloxian hunter. Why don't you run? Krizax demanded, a new emotion entering his voice, something that sounded remarkably like fear. Tessa smiled, and it wasn't entirely friendly. Why would I chase you twice? And then she began to explain. Let me tell you a story about human evolution, Tessa said, continuing to circle the disoriented Veloxian. We didn't start as apex predators. We were small, weak, hairless apes with no claws, no fangs, terrible night vision, and mediocre sense of smell. She ducked another wild swing from Krizax, moving with the practiced ease of someone who knew exactly where their opponent would strike. What we did have was endurance. Humans can't outrun a gazelle in a sprint, but we can follow it until it collapses from exhaustion. It's called persistence hunting. While other predators evolved to be faster or stronger, we evolved to just not stop. In the observation center, the xenobiologists in attendance began murmuring excitedly, pulling up data on human physiology. She's right, one of them announced. Humans have exceptional thermal regulation through sweating, unique foot structure for efficient long-distance movement, and cardiovascular systems optimized for endurance rather than speed. Jack nodded. Tessa was the Space Marines cross-species combat instructor for a reason. She doesn't just understand how to fight, she understands how to fight against specific physiologies. On screen, Tessa continued her lecture while dodging Krizax's increasingly desperate attacks. See, I noticed something about Veloxians during my research. You're ambush predators. Short bursts of incredible speed and strength. But you're not built for marathon hunting. Those first 48 hours? I wasn't running away, I was running you ragged. Flashback footage appeared on a secondary screen, showing Tessa's activities during her head start. She hadn't been resting or hiding, she'd been systematically exploring the terrain, setting markers, mapping routes, and gathering materials, all while calculating exactly how to manipulate Krizax's movements. Every time I let you almost catch me, then disappeared. That was deliberate. Each surge of adrenaline, each sprint, each frustrated search when you lost my trail, all of it burned your energy reserves while I conserved mine. The footage showed her sleeping in short bursts, always on the move, always one step ahead of her pursuer while appearing to barely escape. Humans evolved as pursuit predators, she explained, but we also evolved as prey. We know how to be hunted. We understand predator psychology in our bones, so I used both. I hunted you by letting you hunt me. Kree's axe lunged again, but his movements were clumsy now, his legendary stamina depleted after 3 days of Tessa's carefully orchestrated chase. The naps? The casual pace? The campfires? All calculated to make you underestimate me while exhausting yourself. I wasn't being arrogant, I was making you angry, making you sloppy. In the observation center, the alien representatives watched in astonishment as the screens displayed heat maps of the hunting grounds. Every one of Tessa's movements had been precise, efficient, minimizing her energy expenditure while maximizing Kree's axes. Remarkable. Blorp bubbled. She turned the entire hunting ground into a trap. V-Rax stood rigid, his feline eyes wide with a new emotion, respect. On screen, Tessa had maneuvered Kree's axe into a position where his back was against a steep slope, the exact spot where, hours earlier, she had weakened the ground structure. Final lesson about humans, she said, pulling out her utility knife, the only weapon she'd brought. We don't just use our bodies to hunt. We use our minds. We create tools. We analyze patterns. We set traps. She threw the knife not at Kree's axe, but at a thin vine she'd strung up earlier. It snapped, releasing a cascade of rocks from above. The weakened ground beneath the Veloxian gave way, and he found himself chest deep in a perfectly engineered sinkhole, immobilized but unharmed. Tessa walked over and crouched before the trapped hunter. And that, my furry friend, is why humans survived, despite being smaller and weaker than most of the predators on our planet. We don't need to be the strongest species in the galaxy. She tapped her temple. We just need to be the smartest. The observation center erupted in chaos as the automated system announced hunt concluded. The human victory confirmed. 1 week later, Jack Huxley sat at the bar of the Neutral Zone, Terminus 9's most popular multi-species watering hole. The place was packed with aliens from across the galaxy, all discussing the same thing, the hunt that had changed interstellar politics overnight. The treaty was signed this morning. Admiral Kowalski's holographic form reported from Jack's communication device. The Veloxians have not only withdrawn their threats against Earth, but have proposed a military alliance. Apparently they respect nothing more than a superior hunter. Jack grinned. And Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez, promoted to commander. She's currently giving lectures on human combat techniques to a very attentive Galactic Council. I think she's enjoying the attention. I bet she is. After the Admiral signed off, Jack found himself surrounded by a group of aliens, all eager to hear about humans directly from the source. Is it true your species hunted megafauna to extinction using nothing but sharpened sticks? Asked a tentacled cephalopodian. Are all humans capable of the tactical thinking displayed by your champion? Inquired a crystalline entity. Do humans really need to consume water every few hours or die? How do you function with such inefficiency? Demanded a silicon-based life form. Jack held up his hands. Whoa, one at a time. Yes, we hunted woolly mammoths with pointy sticks. No, not all humans are tactical geniuses like Tessa, though we do tend to be creative in a pinch. And yes, we need water constantly because our bodies use it for everything, including our secret weapon, sweating. The conversation continued, with Jack finding himself in the unexpected role of human ambassador. As he explained human quirks and capabilities, he noticed a tall Veloxian watching from across the bar. It was V-Rax. The Grand Ambassador approached, causing a hush to fall over the immediate area. He loomed over Jack's table, 9 feet of evolved predator radiating dignity and power. Captain Huxley, he rumbled. May I join you? Jack gestured to an empty seat. Free galaxy. V-Rax settled his massive frame onto a reinforced stool. I have been researching your species more thoroughly since the hunt. Your history is illuminating. Find anything interesting? You were prey animals who became predators, then transcended both roles to become builders and thinkers. Yet you retained the instincts of both hunter and hunted. V-Rax's ears flattened slightly. It is a unique evolutionary path. We're full of surprises, Jack agreed. Indeed. V-Rax gestured to the bartender for a drink. Your Commander Rodriguez explained something that I find most intriguing. She said humans are dangerous not because they are strong, but because they never approach the same problem the same way twice. Is this accurate? Jack considered this. More or less, we adapt. We improvise. We overcome. It's kind of our thing. Vrax nodded slowly. The Veloxian Empire has conquered 17 star systems through superior strength and technology. Yet one small human female defeated our greatest hunter using nothing but observation and planning. And a homemade EMP device, Jack added with a grin. Indeed. Vrax's whiskers twitched in what might have been amusement. My species will be reconsidering our approach to galactic relations. As Vrax departed, the bar erupted back into excited conversation. Blorp oozed over to take the vacated seat. Your species has become the most discussed topic in the galaxy overnight, the gelatinous alien informed him. The betting markets for next human achievement have crashed 3 trading systems already. Glad we're keeping things interesting, Jack chuckled. There is one question that remains unanswered. Blorp bubbled curiously. If Commander Rodriguez had lost, what was humanity's backup plan? Jack took a slow sip of his drink, then leaned forward conspiratorially. The surrounding aliens hushed to hear his answer. Who says Tessa was the backup plan? He whispered. Maybe she was the warning. The silence that followed was profound enough that Jack could hear the ice melting in his glass. He leaned back, enjoying the moment immensely. After all, if there was one thing humans understood better than hunting or being hunted, it was how to tell a story that kept the audience guessing until the very end. Across the galaxy, species that had previously dismissed humans as soft, primitive curiosities began reassessing their intelligence reports with newfound concern. The question was no longer whether humans would earn their place among the stars, but what that place would be and whether the rest of the galaxy was ready for them. As for Captain Jack Huxley, dishonorably discharged space marine and accidental diplomat, he was just happy to have a good story to tell the next time he found himself in a bar fight. Some things never change, even when everything else does.